Hey guys, welcome to Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. You know, 2020 has been a crazy year. It's been filled with instability, unpredictability, and nowhere is that more evident than in the Pokemon cards market. Now, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff out there, some advice from YouTubers, some terrible advice, some people masquerading as experts telling the masses what to invest in or that the market is collapsing, and I just wanted to throw out some of my expertise in this area with you guys, and I'll let you digest that. You can take it for what you will, but in the spirit of Black Friday, I thought this would be kind of fun. So check this out. Back in the end of October, Pokemon cards were peaking at their historic record high prices, and to some degree we have seen a bit of a retrace from all that. People were fighting over cards, bidding was like phenomenal on PWCC auctions and on eBay, and it was like every single day or every week there were new record highs to be seen. People were like Black Friday rioting over these cards. The world just couldn't get enough of it. Social media influencers were entering the game, guys like Gary Vee, Logan Paul, just to name a few. It's a really exciting time in the hobby, but there's also a lot of misinformation out there that I feel like could be corrected. So if you guys will allow me today, I think I can explain some of the market trends that we're seeing and maybe give you some additional information to take with you as you're looking at how to go about navigating this new landscape. The question that I'm trying to address in this video is the Pokemon card market crashing? And if you go onto YouTube and you've watched some Poke YouTubers before, you'll understand that this is a common question that's floating around out there that everybody and their brother has an opinion on. And in all honesty, for full disclosure, I'm no different. I certainly have my views on the market as well, but I wouldn't take their advice too seriously. With anything in life, you need to take it with a grain of salt because there's going to be some truth to it, some misconceptions, and maybe even some misleading personal interests that are getting in the way of actually making an objective judgment call. With that in mind, today I want to give you guys my thoughts on really vintage Pokemon cards. That's my expertise, is in WotC. And if you guys have ever watched SM Pratt's videos, great Poke YouTuber, I would highly recommend you check out his videos. He's always preaching the same philosophy: the older, the rarer, the minter, the better. And I think that's certainly the case. That's a good formula for success in the hobby. In fact, the way I would put it is there's 3 ideas that we need to be well equipped to understand if you want to accurately enter the market. So the first of these would be rarity. So when we're talking about rarity, we're looking at the pull rate. How are these cards acquired? Is there anything special about its release? Really, how many are there in circulation? Now, it goes without saying that cards come in different rarity values when they're released in a set. We have common cards, uncommon cards, rare, and then holofoil rare cards. And the reason why this is so important to know is I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing this pullback in the market that we currently are, is people have conflated rarity, thinking that just because something's a PSA 10, or maybe it's something that's a starter Pokemon like Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, or even Pikachu, that it's going to be inherently valuable. And to an extent, I guess that's true, but it's not as rare as you would think. Let me give you guys some numbers. If we're taking a look at the Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard variants, and thinking about the pull rate of a Wizards of the Coast base set box, each pack of cards comes with 5 common cards, 3 uncommon cards, and then 1 rare. Now the pull rate of a rare holo is 1 out of 3 packs. So if we're putting together the math, that means in 1 box of Pokemon cards, you're going to get 180 common cards. Within that 180 common cards, you're looking at pulling 5.625 Charmanders per box. It would be very unlikely that you opened up a box and didn't get at least 1. I mean, just statistically, the math is on your side. Similarly for Charmeleon, one of the uncommon cards, you get 3 of those per pack. If there's an entire box, that's 36 packs, you're looking at an average of 3.375 Charmeleons per box. Now, when it comes to Charizard, this is where we're going to see rarity maybe working for us, but potentially working against us, depending on where you're coming from. But since every 1 out of 3 packs contains a holographic card, that's 12 holographic cards per box. Now there's 15 different holographic cards you can pull from this set. Base set Machamp is special. The Machamp was actually only issued through the starter decks, so you're not going to get one of those from a booster pack. Putting that aside, that actually increases your chance of pulling a Charizard. But still, if we look at the numbers, you're not even guaranteed a Charizard per box. You're on average going to get 0.8 Charizards per box. That means 4 out of 5 boxes should have one, but not every box will. And I suppose some boxes might have 2. Maybe even you get the historical luck on your side and get the box with 3 Charizards. Who knows? I have some of my cards, and I'm not doing this to flex. However, I've been collecting for a long time, and I think one of the things that people overlook when they're reacting to market trends is what is actually rare. Cards like Charizard here, they're going to retain their value. Sure, it might have its ups and downs, its peaks and its valleys, but that's normal with any collectible or any stock. And I think that's true here as well, that it's not acceptable to really put this card in the same category as its unlimited variant brother. We need to beware of cards that are easy to acquire. Lately, jungle set cards have been coming up on eBay for ridiculous prices. I'm talking about the commons, cards like Pikachu, $250, $300, $500 for a PSA 10. That's just not sustainable based on the rarity of the card. Or cards like Eevee, Meowth, Jigglypuff. These are cards that, on average, you're going to pull 11.25 from a box. 11 of them. That's a very different story than the Charizard we looked at earlier, where the pull rate for him was 0.8 per box. You know, looking at this Pikachu card, this one is a very difficult card to find. In fact, these were released with maybe 1 for every 3 first edition jungle boxes. Some have speculated that this was the first secret rare ever released by Wizards of the Coast. It's got the promo stamp on the one side, the first edition stamp on the other, and I just see this as a good investment compared to the commons and uncommons of any Wizards of the Coast set, because those are so plentiful that they will never demonstrate the same scarcity as a card that only comes 1 for every 3 boxes. Next, we need to understand the idea of scarcity. Now, scarcity and rarity tend to go hand in hand in most situations. However, scarcity is about the availability of the card. You know, you can take a look on eBay at any given time and see how prevalent is this card. And just because it's not on eBay doesn't mean that it is scarce. To prove a point, I'm a pretty avid collector, and I don't just collect Charizards, I collect Pokemon cards in general. This is my first edition PSA Charizard, PSA 9. But let's take a look at some of the unlimited ones. Unlimited, 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 unlimited. You get the idea. Now, when we talk about scarcity, we're talking about the availability of the cards. How can you find them? How often do they come up for sale? What's the competition like in terms of the buyer pool versus the actual assets that are available for purchase? This is something that we really need to take into consideration as well. In fact, looking at Charizard, probably the most iconic Pokemon card of all time. Granted, this is just a PSA 9. Just a PSA 9. It's not a 10, but still, the market to find a PSA 9 right now is significantly more difficult than the PSA 10 variant. Let's take a look at some of the numbers again. So currently on eBay, as the time of making this video, there are 131 PSA 8 unlimited Charizards on eBay. Compare that with 8 in first edition. Similarly, with PSA 9, there are currently 138 unlimited Charizards on eBay, whereas with the first edition one, there's only 9 of those available to purchase. Then if we take the PSA 10, the granddaddy of them all, the barometer of the Pokemon market, PSA 10 unlimited, there's 12, which is still not a whole lot. So naturally, I would be inclined to think that the PSA 10 is a fairly safe investment for unlimited, but still it's going to pale in comparison to that PSA 10 first edition variant. Looking at our numbers, there's only 2 on eBay right now. One is listed at a ridiculously high price of about $500,000, which really may be more for eye candy than for an actual sale. And the other one that's currently listed is up at auction with PWCC and has already reached an all-time high, record high price with bidding still going for another 4 days. That price I think right now is like $280,000. That's right, for just one piece of cardboard. It's because it's a rare card and it's incredibly scarce. There's only 140 some of them graded in PSA 10 in the world, which is less than the number of PSA 9s and Unlimited that are for sale right at this moment. Now some might wonder why these aren't graded. Well, I will be sending them out to get graded, but in the past there just hasn't been a major profit motive for grading cards like this. And that's one of the things we need to watch out for with scarcity, is whether or not it's artificial scarcity or if it's scarcity because it's actually legitimately a difficult card to find. The fundamental question we need to ask is, why aren't they readily available? And what I mean by that is, when you have common cards like Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, which we saw earlier are incredibly plentiful in an ungraded status, selling for hundreds of dollars, why aren't there more of them out there on the market? The answer is most likely that it hasn't been profitable in the past to grade them, and therefore, there's not many graded. But naturally, that dynamic is going to shift once they reach a certain price threshold. You have collectors like myself, and plenty of other big fish out there that are sitting on tons of bulk, vintage bulk, that could be submitted for grading at any moment, vastly increasing those population reports and putting a new wave of cards out into the marketplace. Those cards are not scarce by their own right. They're only scarce because people haven't bothered to grade them. And so that's one of the things that I think we need to make sure that we're attending to before making those purchasing decisions. Are people going to be grading them in mass quantities, undercutting the prices, and eventually bringing the market down with it? And I think we're seeing a lot of that right now on eBay, and I see a lot of collectors concerned and panicking about that, talking about the market's crashing. Well, no, this is a natural reaction to the market. If you have artificial scarcity, just from an abundance of ungraded cards suddenly becoming graded and hitting the market to serve that demand, that's just supply and demand working. Lastly is condition. Condition is everything when it comes to collectibles, whether it's Pokemon cards, vintage baseball cards. Even if you want to talk Beanie Babies, you got to know about condition. Condition matters. And so there are objective ways to assess and understand condition. And if you don't understand condition, you're going to have a bad time. And any grading service, whether it be PSA or BGS or CJC, is going to abide by roughly the same grading standards, though their numerical system may be a little bit different. These companies are looking at the surfaces of the card, both the front and the back, the edges, the corners, the centering, and you're never guaranteed a flawless card, even when it comes straight from the pack. Like rarity, condition makes a huge difference when it comes to determining the price point of a particular card, because there are naturally going to be fewer copies available in those mint and gem mint level grades than there will be in the played conditions. Let's use an example from Neo Genesis. Lugia. Now this is one of those situations where condition creates scarcity. What I mean by that is, in certain levels of condition, you're going to find very few copies available, and it becomes increasingly rare for those copies to hit the market, thus pulling up the selling point. But as you go down the condition scale, you're going to find more examples out there, and that's going to lower their price point because there'll be less competition. Taking a look at PSA 10 Lugia, one of the most desirable cards in Generation 2, there are currently 41 copies in the existing PSA population report. 3 of those copies are available on eBay. I believe right now the least expensive one is a PWCC auction at $85,000. Now I'll be honest, I don't know if that's a shill or not. That's an accurate bid, but I do know that one sold a few weeks ago for $50,000. In my time collecting, I've graded 2 first edition PSA 10 Lugias, and this one's currently in my personal collection. It's not for sale. I did sell the other one back years ago, which was a record high at the time, I believe, of $1,600. Seems like a mistake now, but you know what? You can't live your life in hindsight from the market. That money was valuable in helping me get other pieces that I needed for my collection. On the other hand, we have a population report of 461 PSA 8 examples of Lugia. As of the moment of recording this, there's 14 of those on eBay. Again, we need to ask ourselves this question: why aren't they readily available? The answer to this for a lot of cards is that it hasn't been profitable to grade them in the past. Now, Lugia is an exception to this. Lugia is a valuable, iconic Pokemon and has always had at least a little bit of profit that could be made, even off some of the lower grades, PSA 6, PSA 7, PSA 8. But a lot of cards haven't had that same profitability. And so many collectors out there, like myself, do have extra copies of these cards that could very easily become PSA 8s, PSA 9s perhaps, and maybe even the occasional PSA 10. As we're seeing the market change though and adapt, now suddenly those lower grades are having a market. They're establishing their prices. As a result, we're going to see numerous collectors like myself who have been sitting on these lower grade cards, maybe PSA 8s, maybe even some PSA 9s that are ungraded, sending them off to grading companies, get them encased, and sell them. There are a lot of cards out there right now that are not as desirable, that have equal numbers in the PSA 8 or PSA 9 population report, and because they do not have the same level of desirability, they're just not going to be worth the money that's currently out there. However, it's really unlikely that we're going to see a population explosion on cards that are PSA 10s, because really those perfect gem mint candidates would have been graded already, unless coming in fresh out of a pack. So I think that's one of the dynamics that we need to make sure that we understand when talking about rarity, scarcity, and condition, is there are more cards out there, and if the market suddenly has demand for those lower grades, well, we're going to see some of them materialize and find that state of equilibrium within the market itself. So my final thoughts are this. Pokemon is the highest grossing franchise of all time. There's no one that's even close second at this point. And there are certain cards that are going to appreciate over time, and other cards that are going to see retraces and correction as the market reacts to these three factors: rarity, scarcity, and condition. It seems obvious to me that many of the big ticket items out there are good investments. They're safe investments because there's always going to be a demand. With so many people in the Pokemon market and new people entering each day, the demand for those items is just going to increase while the supply is going to stay relatively stable. You're probably not going to find a whole lot more PSA 10 first edition Charizards. Sure, one or two might be added to the population report per year, but it's not going to suddenly explode based on collectors hoarding 50 ungraded first edition Charizards in their basement. Now, even if you could get your hands on a first edition base set box at the cost of like $300,000, you're still not guaranteed to pull a Charizard. Again, just like the unlimited version, the chances are only 0.8 per box, and even then you might not get one that's in great condition. Nothing is ever guaranteed until you open the packs. Now, just to clarify, this is not a sealed first edition box. It's already been opened, the packs are gone. I bought it this way, I put it in a little plastic container. I like to use these for display purposes, so I do collect empty boxes, not resealing them. It's a terrible idea. But even these are hard to find, and that's just a further proof that scarcity in any market, including the Pokemon market, is going to be one of those factors that needs to be considered. Well, guys, that's it. If you can understand those three factors, rarity, scarcity, and condition, I think you'll be well equipped to understand what's currently happening in the market and maybe not panic like so many of the YouTubers would have you believe. Yes, Pokemon is seeing a bit of a retrace on certain items, while others are reaching their all-time record highs, and the only way we can make sense of that is by arming and equipping ourselves with the knowledge to be successful in this industry. If you're the type of person that's entering without any passion for the hobby, any experience, or any knowledge about the market, the cards, the desirability, the availability, the rarity, you're going to have yourself a bad time. This is Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. We'll see you guys next time.